Do you want some quick and easy card ideas for using up your stash of 8x8 paper? Hi, I'm Jess from jesscrafts.com and I'm here to help you make the most of your crafty supplies and time. So let's get making. Today I have the Paper Boutique Ocean Bliss 8x8 paper pad. This is made in the UK, which makes me think it might be more easy to get your hands on if you're outside of the US than some papers that are manufactured in the US, or maybe cheaper, because if it's manufactured overseas then you can get it. So anyway, I just like to mix it up and use a variety of different papers so that if you're watching from somewhere else besides America, maybe the papers will be easier for you to get your hands on. But I get mine at scrapbook.com because all of you know I love scrapbook.com and that's where I do most of my shopping. So today, I have this template, 8x8 paper busting template number 5, which means there are 4 other ones for 8x8 paper and A2 size cards. And I have paper busting templates for 12x12, 6x6 paper, different size cards too, like 5x7 cards. And today's tells me to cut my paper into 4 by 3 inch rectangles. And you may notice I have 2 pieces of paper. That's so I can mix up the patterns, and I'm cutting them both at the same time to save time. And then I will cut another set of 4 by 3 rectangles. So you want to cut it exactly as shown in the template because you don't want to change the direction. This does work well for directional pattern paper. So if your paper has a clear top and bottom like this one with the turtles and fish, it is good to go. Now, there is a little thing where I'm going to give you a tip for how to make this easier than the template suggests. I always make the template in such a way that there will be as little possibility of confusion as possible. Because if you're not watching the video and you just have the template, I want it to be really, really clear. But in my videos, I will often show you that there are sometimes like little I want to say like sneaky ways to do things. It's not quite right. Or hacks. I don't know what the right word for it is, but that there are ways to make things just a little bit faster. And that is, in this case, instead of cutting these to 2 inches by 1 inch, I'm going to cut them to 4 inches by 1 inch. And I'm going to save myself some time. Now, this particular paper, or this particular sketch, is actually really good on cardstock because you're going to need 4 1/4 inch cardstock. So I can take an 8.5 by 11. This is from Park Lane, which is available at Joann's in the US, but it's actually super, super similar to the Gina K Tranquil Teal. So if it looks particularly appealing to you, wanted to mention that because they are basically the same, but this is, you know, the Joann's paper is a little bit cheaper and a little bit thinner and has a white core, whereas the Gina K is a solid core and very well priced though. Okay, so you cut it to 3 1/4 by 8.5. And then when you cut that 8.5 in half to 4 1/4, you get exactly what you need with no scraps. And so I really, really love when I can come up with an idea that leaves very little in the way of cardstock scraps as well. So now I need 1 1/4 off of this because I have those 4 by 1 inch pieces. And I'm cutting it to the 4 1/4. Now, this will leave me with 1/4 inch on all sides. If you look at the template, I didn't actually draw it that way, just so that you would see a little bit more of the paper on the edges. So if you mat it like this, you're gonna see a lot less of the pattern paper. So I would suggest do it whichever way you like better. If you wanna see more pattern paper, cut this to 4. And then technically, yeah, you have this little scrap, but I'm not worried about that. I'm just gonna toss it. It's just something that I wanna point out because what I do tell you in the template is to cut it to 2 by 1 1/4 so that you don't have those. And that's what that'll be. So I'm gonna keep cutting, make sure everything's done, and then we'll get to finishing this card. I finished cutting everything I need. I've used 2 pieces of 8.5 by 11 cardstock, and this is what I have left over. So again, just pretty efficient on scraps. But this piece I wouldn't even consider a scrap because it's 3 1/4 by 8.5. Like, I mean, that's substantial. Like, what I mean by scrap is like so small it can't be used. Like this is so big, like I'm definitely gonna be able to use it on the next time I pull out this cardstock. It's a very usable piece and I like when that happens so that I feel like I'm, you know, getting the most bang for my buck. So I have all these pieces, and you could start gluing them on because these are all your cardstock mats, but I want to be even more efficient with cardstock, which won't surprise many of you. And I want to cut out this hello die. It's from scrapbook.com. Any hello die, of course, will work well, any word die you want, but I want to use the expression waving hello because of the ocean critters. So I'm going to, instead of pulling in a lot of like extra embellishment, I'm going to tie in my theme with my sentiment instead. So I want to cut this hello, because I'm going to need one hello for each card, out of this matte piece here, and then once that's cut out, I can glue this on top, and you're never going to know, but it's going to be, I obviously take that chunk of cardstock that I had left and cut all these hellos out of it, but this is going to be really efficient. And usually I use scraps of white, but I actually ran out of scraps of white because, again, I'm so focused on making sure that I don't leave scraps, and when I do leave scraps, I always use them first, to the point that I don't even have any white scraps. Okay, I wanted to show you this. It's kind of hard to get in the frame, but I do think this tip could be interesting to some people. My Gemini Junior, if you notice, it's really easy to move around. It is, in fact, on wheels, casters. So I saw this from Amy Makes That on Instagram, and I will link her in the video description, but she put casters on her Cricut. And I put casters on my Cricut, and then I thought, well, I wonder if I could do it to my Gemini too, and I put it on all the little feet. And you are modifying the machine by doing this. This is not what the manufacturer recommends. I don't know how it'll interact with your warranty, so, you know, kind of do this at your own risk. But it's kind of cool to have it move around my craft room, or move around my craft desk really easily, because it is kind of a heavy machine. And, you know, so I like it, and I've used it for, it's been a couple months now, and I haven't had any issues with how it cuts or anything like that. So I just wanted to show you in case that was interesting to you, but of course, at your own risk. So I have all of my strips lined up here. Instead of cutting them at the 2-inch mark, I left them at 4 inches, and I'm gonna put it down on the 4 by 1 1/4, try to center it. I'm just gonna eyeball it. You could totally use your grid mat here. I have one, I just, honestly, I'm just used to eyeballing things, but your grid mat could be super helpful. And then I'm gonna cut it in half now. And again, using your grid mat, super easy, because now this is gonna be basically 2 inches because I've lined it up. But it doesn't have to be that precise anyway. You're gonna spread it across the card, like so. And you've saved yourself probably a little bit of time versus trying to cut all those mats individually. Another thing I did want to quickly say about putting casters, some of you probably know I have a Gemini Junior and I have a Spellbinders machine from scrapbook.com. I did not put casters on my Spellbinders machine because it's a manual machine and I have to crank it, and then when I go to crank it, I need to put some pressure downward and hold it in place. But I don't need to do that with my Gemini because it feeds through and it's an electronic machine. And so that's why I think it works well for the Cricut and for the Gemini Junior, and probably for some other electronic die cutting machines, but I would not recommend it if you have a manual machine. I realize that, you know, those are kind of heavy as well, usually a little less so, but just as a sort of word of caution there. As I mentioned before, I just cover up the hello that I cut out of the center, and then I'm going to attach the white hello to the blue backgrounds, which I've just kind of put aside in a little bowl or tray so that they don't get lost. I found some, that one is from an Etsy store. It's really cute because it also has like a little funnel on the side for sequins, but I've also just picked up like soap dishes at the Dollar Tree. There's a lot of choices out there. And I really like this hello from scrapbook.com for this card because the like flourishes kind of look like waves a little bit to me. I don't know, just like the feel, the ocean feel is there for me. So you'll notice if you go to pick up the template today that you will be asked to sign up for a newsletter. And that's a new thing that I'm doing because I know that a lot of times the algorithm for Instagram or YouTube or wherever you follow someone isn't going to show you everything that that person does, but you might want to see all their videos. And so it's just going to be like a weekly newsletter where I can update you on what I've been doing and what has come out in case you have missed a template or a freebie or whatever, because I do make all of my templates available for free. So it's still free. It's just that it'll ask you to input an email address as well. And so you can choose to do that. And I'm not going to do it with every single one of my templates, but you may need to sign up for several of them. And that's okay. Don't worry. You're not going to like get a bunch of emails. You're just going to get the one for the template. And then when I send out a weekly one, you'll just get one email. Don't worry about signing up multiple times, meaning that you're going to get like, the weekly email will be delivered 15 times or something. But it's just a way, again, to kind of keep you updated on what's actually going on, because a lot of times you'll miss some of it. So I will use my grid mat to help me to line these up across. You could take a ruler as underneath it as well. You could eyeball it, because honestly you won't really notice. This is a great place to use up any scraps that were created, because you could take the scraps and use it to prop up this hello panel here, as it could, like, you kind of have like a little bump here. It would just kind of make everything a little bit smoother, but honestly, it's not too big of a deal. Sometimes I'll use the cardstock, sometimes I won't. You can also use the scrap cardstock to make some fake foam tape, like put 2 or 3 layers together and then put it underneath your hello or your image or something like that. And I thought I was originally gonna do waving hello, but I kind of already like it the way it is. Maybe I'll add that later, I'm not sure, but I'm not gonna film it because it'll just be stamping it onto a banner die or something like that. But I think that hello already kind of really invokes the ocean. So I am going to get 4 cards out of each of my pieces of paper, and I cut 2. So I'm gonna have 8 cards. And you might be thinking, what are you gonna do with all these cards? A lot of you know, I donate a lot of my cards. And in particular, I have resources on my website where I talk about different places you can donate your cards. A lot of them will ask for you to put something inside of your cards, like some kind of message. On jesscrafts.com, there are some jokes that you can put inside. There are specifically ocean animal jokes if you're working with this paper pad or something similar. There's holiday jokes of all kinds. There's different kinds of animals, categories of animals like farm animals, and then just like cats and dogs and just all kinds of stuff. So be sure to check that out if you have been interested in finding something to do with all of the cards that you create. And if you like mass producing like this, like I like that, I've designed 1 card, but I'm gonna get 8 out of it. And maybe I'll send 1 to a friend and then I'll, pack up the rest for donation. You can see this is the opposite kind of version of the card where there's a little bit less of the ocean theme. So in the case of this one, I'm thinking I might add some kind of extra embellishment, as this one, like there's so much going on there, I don't feel like I need to add something, but on the more plain version, maybe adding some kind of printout or stamp. I found these fish on Creative Fabrica, which if you've never heard of Creative Fabrica, you can get some really inexpensive clip art that you can print and cut out on there. I'll leave you a link to that as well, but I think maybe adding a little fish or something would help finish off that card. And if you found this video helpful, here's another video where you can find more ideas for enjoying your crafty time and supplies. Let me know you like this video with a share to your crafty community. Subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss the next template or tutorial, and check the video description for product links. See you in the next video.